Well. Season 2 Lidia is here, and Hammer Tech has been buffed. Hammer Tech has not only been buffed, it is now an official core part of Lidia's move list and game plan. You know, when I set out with this, my intention was to get Lidia nerfed. When I made Hammer Tech, I looked at it and I thought, this is crazy. This is so good. This is going to break Lidia wide open and surely get her nerfed. And instead, not only does she get buffed, but Hammer Tech gets buffed directly. Like, they know. Like, one of you watching right now are from Bandai Namco or are giving them information, because not only did Hammer Tech get directly buffed and became a core part of her game plan, but also just the 1+2 got buffed directly. Anna is in this game with a stance called Hammer Chance, where she swings a hammer down, and her gimmick is based off of putting the opponent in a debuff state that does chip damage, where you mainly do the Hammer Chance bop 1+2 to do chip damage. And then even with the system changes, Ikeda went on Twitter and made an example out of Lidia's down 2 using, yeah, you know it, the Axe Tech. Down 2 in the down 2. You know, even though I started out like this, trying to get Lidia nerfed because I thought it would be funny, this feels even better to know that I had a good chance of having a direct influence on Season 2's balance. Wait, no, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean that I'm responsible for Season 2. I didn't do that. Okay, I just made a funny video. I just made a couple of funny videos. Just don't. Ah, shit, I can hear them at the door. I can hear, they're at the door. They're trying to break it. Ah, I gotta go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally here with Lidia in Season 2, and the buffs, while maybe not as good as some other characters that just fundamentally break the game, are very nice. If you want my short opinions on the changes on Lidia, I'm a big fan of them. I really like them. And today we're going to be breaking down all of those changes for you, as always. And if you would like, there are going to be timestamps down below so you can skip to different parts of the video depending on what you want to know. As I always do with my videos, I try to essentially make this one video a bunch of very small videos put together, so you don't have to look for Lidia Season 2 buff explanation number 62. So I encourage you to skip around if you want to learn about something in particular, or something that you don't quite understand maybe the strength of it or significance of it. And I'll also give you my short thoughts here as well at the beginning, in case any of you don't want to watch through this whole hour-long video and just want the synopsis. As for the changes, the reason why I like the changes so much is because they don't really play into her casino gameplay, which, whether you're a Lidia player or not, is something that you have probably heard time and time again, because a lot of Lidia players stick to this very easy stance 50-50 style of playing Lidia, Jesus, where you go in the stance and then just force one of your really bad 50-50s, and it kind of works because a lot of people don't know this matchup. People who are knowledgeable in this matchup, the 50-50 won't work. Like the Heaven and Earth 1+2, the unblockable, is just a terrible move. It's not good, especially when you're playing against someone that knows their way around the character and what they're doing. But a lot of people struggle to deal with it, and so one of the big fears for me, but also one of the things I think a lot of people were expecting, was that Lidia was going to get new lows or buffed lows or new things out of stance. And that's not the case. And so the only new move that we see out of stance is this, which used to be her old Catfoot 03 in Tekken 7, not that really matters to any of you, but basically this move leaves you +6 and it wall staggers. So this is a nice move to demonstrate as well what exactly got buffed with Lidia. It's not just like brain dead 50-50s. It's not casino stuff. Instead, what it is it's situational neutral tools to improve how you play Lidia and what you do in certain situations. But the only way that you can properly utilize these is if you have a full understanding of the character. So all of the changes with Lidia are very good. They were needed, they help a lot, and they just make her a more fun and interesting character to play, while pertaining more towards her difficulty being her unorthodox gameplay, her plethora of moves, the need for you to be able to play the mental game with your opponent and use what they're doing against them. All right, so if there's a little bit of a weird gut here, I decided like 15 minutes into this recording that the way I was explaining everything wasn't a good idea, so I'm resetting it, but I don't feel like redoing the intro because I'm lazy. So let's get into the changes here, starting with the nerfs, because the nerfs are going to be a little bit quicker and easier to go through, and then we'll start talking about the buffs. So the first thing has to do with the universal changes to the game, being that you can hold back now to get up and avoid situations. And this means that Screwdriver Tech is dead. I'm sorry, Neos. I know that you're probably watching this. I'm sorry. Listen, I still have, hold on, where is it? Oh, Christ almighty, where's the damn card? Oh no, have I lost the card? Oh, I'm a fake fan. I'm a fake Rainbow Neos fan. Well, nope, I actually don't know where the Rainbow Neos card is. Great. That just makes me look like an ass. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Screwdriver Tech is dead. It's not bad, but we'll get into the reasons why it's not very useful anymore later. And it has to do with actually down back 4, that's why. So the thing is with Screwdriver Tech is that Screwdriver Tech for most characters is just gone now, because you can hold back. And this also carries some really weird side effects that aren't really explained, so let me explain to you what's going on. So if you don't know what happened with Lidia's Oki at the wall, if she did something like from crouch down forward 3, you microdash into down 1+2. This is guaranteed. This is still true. And that means from crouch down forward 3 after heat engager, like say we do a sequence like this. And I explained this in my Lidia's biggest season 2 buff, and pretty much all of that video is still accurate. But we'll explain the part that's not. But at the wall here, you can do that, and that's a really good low mix-up you can do after heat engager. So that's still true. The problem is that before you can micro dash into down 1+2, and this was very tight timing, but as long as you had the execution for it, if the opponent woke up, held back, pressed up, whatever the case, stayed at the wall, then that would hit them when they wake up. And if they tech rolled, then you would get a down 1 that they would block, giving you a safe way to be able to do this. It's an option select. It prevents the opponent from being able to do anything. This no longer works. And that, because of that, this is also true if the opponent gets wall splat. If we do Screwdriver Attack here, they stay on the ground, they do that. There's some wonky stuff as well with the wall that goes on. Maybe if I do like this, just for demonstration's sake, if we do this, this doesn't work anymore. And I can actually demonstrate to you by getting the bot to do this real quick. So I'm going to get knocked down by this low here. And again, this is going to be the same thing as doing Lidia's typical Oki after like down 2 or forward 431. And I want you to look at my inputs here. So if I get knocked down here and I hold back now, you can see how that the micro dash into down 1+2 still works, right? If I get knocked down by this, I'm continuously holding down back, notice how that becomes a down 1 instead. Yeah, it's a bit weird. So what's happening here is it's almost like the window for when you tech is now some sort of window that also applies to when you hold back, and it's putting you in a standing state, or it's considering you in a standing state in the same way as tech rolling like this. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. I don't believe this was explained in the patch notes, that this is the behavior of it. I don't even know if it's intentional, it's going to change in the future patch. I don't know. All I know is that this is how it is right now when looking at it, where essentially holding back is doing the same thing as teching. And the problem with the down 1+2 is it relied on the opponent holding back instead of teching. Now, if you have an opponent who doesn't tech roll and doesn't hold back when they get knocked down, then this will still work. But that's probably not going to happen, and you don't really want to rely on that, because you don't want to have the opponents back to the wall and do a -7 mid that doesn't wall splat, you know what I mean? So what you want to do instead is still do the micro dash, but instead of doing that, just micro dash in the back one as if they tech roll, because that's still going to give you the Oki. So if we demonstrate this and I hold back here, you'll see how that works. And if I tech roll here, because of the micro dash, it'll cause that to realign with the tech roll. So that's what you want to do now. The other thing that you can do as well is let me have another recording here, do from crouch down forward 3, micro dash into here, micro dash into another from crouch down forward 3. That is also an option. So if I play this here and I tech roll, the reason why this works is because I didn't record it. God, I'm so smart. I'm actually a genius, like a marvel of our time. If I tech roll here, and hopefully I actually did it right this time, because of the micro dash, you can see how that still clean hits. And depending on the angle to the wall, this will still give you the down 1+2 guaranteed. So you're essentially doing this from crouch mix up, that's a house sweep. And then if you're doing this from crouch mix up and the opponent's back is to the wall, you can mix it up with something like a while rising 1-4 to wall splat them. So just to demonstrate what that would look like in sequence, you can do this and then that gives you a wall splat in the full combo. So if, again, I tech here, or again, even if I hold back, you can see how that wall splats, again, depends on like the angle and like where you are relative to the wall, but that's the general idea. So that's sort of what you can do now with the Oki. You're basically doing the same thing as you would do if the opponent would tech in season 1. And so against an astute opponent that understands how this works, in some ways, it hasn't changed. In some ways, it has, because if you're forcing the 50-50 and the opponent wants to stay on the ground, which happens sometimes even at the top level, down 1+2 will still just hit them, but now if they just hold back, then it doesn't matter. So you might have instances where the opponent stays on the ground still to avoid that, but it's going to be a lot less likely, and you can't just dash into the down 1+2. There's a little bit more nuance that goes into it. Now, this isn't a big deal because this has happened with every character. The way that works with Lidia is obviously quite different because it requires this micro dash thing. It's different than just the guaranteed setups that are gone or the guaranteed follow-ups. This was just her Oki, and it's been hit by a stray with the universal changes to the system mechanics, and I don't think it was intentional that they nerfed this at all. And so, like, the reason I say it's dead isn't because it doesn't have use. It still does have use. It still gives you more damage if you do that and you hit the down 1+2 than your bread and butter combo. So if you want to mix up the opponent because like they hold back because they want to block the low, and then you do back 1, a forward 4-2 if you're in heat, it's still good Oki. Like, screwdriver attack still does something. It's just significantly nerfed to a point where it's not the go-to option anymore, I think, at the wall with Lidia. In my opinion, screwdriver tech was the best thing you could do at the wall for a wall combo. It was better than doing her max damage just because the situation you got from it was so absurd. Now, because of this change and this nerf, it's not nearly as good. Now, I'm going to jump ship a little bit from the nerfs because we still have more nerfs to talk about, but because we're talking about Oki and the mix-ups here, there is a major buff to Lidia that we have to talk about that no Lidia player is talking about, is going completely under the radar. Every Lidia player is scoffing at it and just say, oh, this is garbage. This move didn't get changed at all. We wanted it changed and it didn't. And it's actually one of Lidia's biggest buffs. You know, you want to know what it is? You want to know what move I'm talking about? If I gave you 5 guesses, you probably wouldn't guess what move I'm talking about here. The move is... it's April 4th when I'm recording this. It is 1 a.m. on April 4th. I am not messing with you. It is down back 4. The reason why is because they changed it so it hits the opponent while they're on the ground now. Actually, I have them already set up for this. So if we do that same sequence and we do, instead of the micro dash, we do down back 4, this hits them while they're on the ground, turns them feet up, face towards, leaves us at +7, and then we can continue our offense. Now, the other nice part about this too is if I set the opponent to Ukemi here after the down 1+2, it tracks Ukemi not to one side, but to both sides. Yeah, it works perfectly in this scenario. So the problem is, of course, it still only leaves you at +0. So it's not perfect, because if you have opponents, depending on the opponent, that have like 10 frame counter heat engages is something they can contest this. They can do something about this. But this is a good Oki option that you have now, because it covers everything that the opponent does. And unlike when you would do like down back 3 in a similar situation to try tracking them, which you actually saw you need a micro dash for in order to be able to do this properly, this not only doesn't require a micro dash, so it's lower execution, but also won't get you killed by almost any character in the game because it's -13. So it is a safe Oki option that you can do that's going to give you a decent chunk of damage and is going to hit the opponent no matter what they do. So if you're unsure of what the opponent's going to do, or let's say you're in a scenario like this, let me change the health around here so that my health is at 75% and the opponent is at, say, 25. Okay, so let's say, that's my recoverable health. My bad, I don't know how this works. So let's say we are at 75% health here with no gray health, and the opponent is at 25% health and we're at the wall, right? So, excuse me, that is not what I asked for. Okay, that was weird. So let's say we're in this position. We do from crouch down forward 3. Let's also turn them off of side Ukemi just to make it easier to demonstrate this. We do this, they actually die off. That 25%. I love Lidia, by the way. Okay, let's say that 50. 50 probably isn't the best example here. I'm gonna beat them up a little bit. Hold on. Okay, I think this is a better example. So let's say that 64 health and we are at 135. So we're like 75%, they're at about 30%. And we do this Oki. We do like from crouch down forward 3 into this, right? So they have 20 health left. Down back 3 isn't going to kill them here. And if they get hit by a low, then in one mix-up situation, they're dead. Obviously, if the mid hits them too, they're dead. So the chances are pretty damn high that they're going to just stand block because they don't want to die, or they're going to stay on the ground so that the move whiffs and then they can do a wake-up kick and get back in the game. That is the most likely thing to happen here. The most likely defensive option for the opponent to do. But on the off chance that they realize that's what we're thinking, and we're going for the higher probability option because it just makes sense in this scenario. We do down back 3, we get launched, we lose like 80 to 90 health, we have to deal with Oki, the opponent heat bursts, and now we have like 30 HP and we just got a combo, and now we have to deal with Oki, and now we're in the same position. That is where down back 3 comes into play, because if they stay on the ground, sorry, not down back 3, down back 4, we'll just put them to 8 HP. And so now no matter what, they're in a one-touch situation. They get hit once and they just die. And because of the position that we're in with down back 4, we can just do it again and then they're dead. So that's an option that we have. But then the other thing too is if they decide to tech roll here. So again, let's just have them side Ukami right just for the sake of example. And then let's reload this. So if they decide to side Ukami here, and I could actually do what I'm trying to do, and we down back 4, now they're at 5 HP. So even though we're at 0, what kills them here? A jab, right? That kills them. A down jab, if they try contesting, that kills him. Jab on trade here just kills him. So even though we're 0, we are in a very commanding position. They can't even rage on, armor, anything. Heat burst, right? They can't use their get off me tool because jab will kill them because the HP is so low. And that's what makes this so good. Whereas in an alternate scenario, if we do this, and then when they wake up after this tech roll, we micro dash and down back 3 like we might do before, we die, we just lose the round on the spot here. And even if this hits, okay, well, I guess that worked because it was clean hit, and it also increases based on stacks. There we go. It's not going like, hold on, just let me demonstrate this. Oh my god, stop blocking! Ah! See, if we micro dash into that, that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. It doesn't clean it. So it does 17 damage. They have 3 HP, so we don't kill them anyway. We don't want to risk our horse mix-up because horse 1+2 gets us launched and kills us anyway. So we're putting ourselves in 2 situations where we just get launched and die. The mid is punishable. The 3 can get floated and we die. And we just have all the opportunity in the world to just lose our lead and then lose the round on the spot. And again, if we do down back 4, yes, they punish us with a 13 frame move. Yes, they recover some of their gray health. Yes, they can get back in the game, but it's not a guarantee that they get back in the game. We are still in a position where we can easily fight back. So down back 4 is a huge buff to Oki, and it also is something that you can do not just off the hard knockdown if they try rolling or whatever, but also if we do full combo. So if we do a wall splat here, and let me reset their health. If we do a wall splat here and we just do like a basic combo, down back 4 when they tech, oh! Go here, let's try that again. Oh my god, one more time. And then do that. That's what I'm trying to demonstrate. A little micro dash to make sure you get the realignment into down back 4, and it's accomplishing the same thing as it would before. And it's also, again, not putting us at a huge risk. So it's just giving us more options in neutral and more options for this Oki. And that's what makes down back 4 so good. So that's something that should really be in your list of tools to utilize for season 2. Now, continuing on with the nerfs, the only real major nerf that Lidia has that's not a universal system change is having a nerf 3 stacks. So the problem with this is that if we are out here, okay, let me explain what happened first. What happened is they reduced the amount of travel that the move has on hit to prevent instances of it wall splatting at round star on like Mishima Dojo or something. Now, why they got rid of this with Lidia when she actually has to build up a meter to get to it, and they didn't remove it from Jin or Fong or these other characters, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I think it was fine with Lidia to be able to do this if she had 3 stacks personally. Maybe it's because they require using all of the heat and Lidia doesn't. Maybe that's the balance reason. I don't know. But regardless of whatever it is, this is gone now. And so if you are far away from a wall and the opponent actually decide to get off their ass and try blocking this, that is completely the wrong thing from what I just asked them to do. You still get shoulder tackle. And this is an important point of how this works. Although there it gave me a toe kick. So that's fun. But you can see it gave me a shoulder tackle. This game is very consistent, by the way. So we still have that as an option so that we don't just lose neutral. One of the problems with having Heaven and Earth level 3, because of the amount of knockback that this has, if you don't have the ability to run in and do shoulder tackle, then you are in a worse position than if you hit it at level 2, which means you are at a disadvantage if you are Heaven and Earth level 2, because you see how I'm able to, with the distance that they travel here, run up and do like, not, if I actually did it correctly, that would be very helpful, but how I'm able to like run up and do forward 2, to be able to stop them from just like hitting buttons or whatever. If this is max distance, then we can't do that. We have to kind of rely on the shoulder tackle. And so thankfully we can still do that, but the problem, there's a big but here, because right now we're looking at this and we're like, okay, well that's a nerf, it's a minor nerf, but it doesn't affect that much. And it's kind of true, it doesn't affect that much. But here's the issue. If we are closer to a wall, closer, if we're like here, I think, I'm just guesstimating, this might not even be right. If we're like here and we do this, that's not gonna wall splat and we don't get to do shoulder tackle because they just fall in the face like an idiot at the wall. So the problem here is that this means that we can't just do shoulder tackle. It does open up other stuff there, like you saw. If you know the distance and this works, then we can oops, sorry, I redid this from the wrong spot. Oh, so I'm not even in level 3. Okay, let me redo that because I wasn't even in Heaven and Earth level 3. Okay, so let's say we're here at the wall, we do this. This isn't going to, oh, well, let me do it from here. Like I said, I was guesstimating. I'm not 100% sure on where this is gonna go. This should do it. So let's record the stats here. And let's not sidestep. Let's go in the Heaven. Thank you, Lidia. So you can see if we're like here, then we don't get shoulder tackle. And this, if they actually do I think it's a quick back roll is what you have to have the setting on. Then you can see they just wake up and we're here. Now, granted, we are plus 35, so it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it does mean that we kind of lose out on some of our Oki and pressure, and if we run out of heat, then we can potentially be in a worse position. We just don't get as much plus frames as we would if we had the shoulder tackle, and then obviously the distance for the wall splash significantly reduced, so kind of like what we showed before, but at like this distance, okay, at that distance, it's going to work. But if we're, I think, here, you can see how that low wall splats, and then we don't really get anything because then they can just tech roll and then they're away from the wall. So when you hit Heaven and Earth 2 at this distance, they get a low wall spot and roll, they tech roll out of the wall, and because we hit Heaven and Earth 2, we just lost the wall. We just lost the wall advantage, which feels like something I just didn't think about. Because there are so many drawbacks now to hitting Heaven and Earth 2 at level 3 versus level 2 and level 1, where you just don't have to deal with this, that I get confused. Because like if we're at that same distance here, if we're at this distance and we're in level 2 instead of level 3, so like again, say we're here, that's, oh, hold on, I gotta get the right distance here. I think it's here. We can like run up and then down 1+2 if we actually do it correctly. And this isn't something that we can do in Heaven and Earth level 3. Look, we can do it like that if we're at the right distance to the wall. But if we're in level 3, that doesn't happen because they get like a low wall slump, they tag roll, and then we've lost the wall. So it's just an overall really weird change. I don't know. It's just, I feel like there's a lot of oversights with it. Speaking of changes, moving on to the more minor nerfs. Heaven and Earth 1. Yeah, Heaven and Earth got nerfed quite a bit. So what they changed with Heaven and Earth 1, similar thing to Heihachi's 1 back to 2 change that they did, where you could like delay it and then you got more damage on the stomp. They got rid of that after you were at the wall and did like the back 4 thing and down 1+2. Personally, I never did this. I never thought it was actually good. Oop, I gotta actually go into Heaven and Earth here. But basically what would happen is if you did a low wall slump and then did this, you could do back 4 and then down 1+2 to get unscaled damage. And unscaled, I say in heavy quotes, because it gave you 4 extra damage. So I just never did it. I just didn't care. The damage to me wasn't worth it. I just never did this. I know every Lidia player did, but I thought it was dumb. But now they can tech roll out of this. And so this has actually some implications, not just at the wall, and that's why I'm bringing this up a little bit more, but also at mid-screen, because the old thing that you might see me do a lot is do this, go here, and then go forward for wall carry. Now they can tech roll out of that. So you get, not only do you lose out on that damage, which was the intended change, but another factor of this that's more like unintentional is that you lose out on your wall carry after Heaven and Earth 1, which might sound weird to some people, but that's genuinely how it is. Now, it's not all bad, because this only affects it if the game looks at the Heaven and Earth 1 and sees it as like it hitting when they're low to the ground. And that means if we do this off of a combo like this and they're high in the air, then we still get that wall carry as long as I actually do it right. That's part of it. We get less wall carry, but we still can do it. So let's do full combo here. Boop, boop, go here. And then we still get a little bit of wall carry, as you can see. So it's not like it's completely gone. You have to do the down 1+2 immediately. It's just that instead of running into it, you get like a micro dash, which is good and does help with wall carry, but it's also quite a significant nerf to a wall carry when she's in heat that I think was overlooked, because I'm the only person doing this really. Because I don't know, just no one else thought of it. No one else thought that, hey, if you just like press forward and push them, then you get wall carry. But yeah, that's a change. Now that's it for nerfs. That's it. That's everything. And the nerfs took a little bit longer because they needed a bit of explanation, because they were quite weird. And pretty much all of the nerfs with Lidia are a lot of things that on the surface seem like, okay, well, they're not a big deal, but they have more like macro implications that you really have to look at under a fine lens to fully understand the implications. And so we had to talk about that a little bit more, just so that it's fully understood, like what those changes actually mean and what they could mean for you. Thankfully, the buffs aren't going to take that long, or nearly as long to explain. Some of them will, but most of them won't. So that's why this video isn't 5 hours long. So moving on from that, let's talk about the changes that don't really do anything. And the first one I want to talk about is the slowdown after you are at 3 stacks and do down 1+2. I hate this change. This change needs to be reverted. The reason why is because it changes your timing on 1-frame links. So one of the things, if you don't know, I'm gonna make sure I have them set to actually wake up properly here. If we do something like screwdriver tech, right? And we do down 1 and we do down, oh my God, this game is so good. If we do this and then we do this, down 1+2 here hits them if they hold back and stand up, and it leaves us at +6. The thing is, if you don't know, when you are at +6, forward 2 track sidestep to both directions with a 1-frame link. And this is very important at the wall because, of course, forward 2 in heat just gives you a full wall splat. And now, because of the change to forward 2 as well, giving you this for the wall stagger, it's very important that you're able to land this. So the slowdown means that the timing for this is going to be different whether you're at 2 or 3 stacks. And I don't really have a good way of demonstrating this because the bot is going to refuse to sidestep. I've already tried testing this for the video and it's not going to work. But the problem is, I don't think I need to show it to explain it. But if we do, like, again, wall splat here, bop, bop, the timing for a forward 2 is completely different than with 0, 1, and 2 stacks. And that makes the execution significantly harder. Because not only do you have to pay attention to the 3 stacks and not do it earlier, so you just get a forward 2, but then also you have to learn the timings for it based on anything but 3 stacks and at 3 stacks. And if you don't get the timing right on both of them, then your ass gets sidestepped and launched and then you die. So this is just this is supposed to be a change that's more visual and showing the power that Lidia conveys when she does the down 1+2, but it's stupid and it has actual gameplay implications that I don't think they even knew about, so it needs to be reverted. Please and thank you. See, I'm not just complaining about slowdown hit effect stuff. There's a reason. There's an actual tangible reason I'm complaining about it. So that makes me different than your other Tekken YouTubers. Okay, moving on to the other change that does kind of nothing, and that's going to need an asterisk for this next one. Wolf 4. Now, the thing is with Wolf 4, it's weird. It's a weird situation. And the reason why is because it's, in many ways, it's a nerf. Even though it's listed as strictly a buff, in many ways it's a nerf. In many ways it's a buff. And so what makes it a little bit weird is if you saw the section of the video about the Oki changes. One of the things that made Wolf 4 so strong is that at the wall, after Wolf 4 hits, you can microdash in a down 1+2. And now you just can't do that anymore because if you're at below 3 stacks, it doesn't knock down, which is a significant nerf. It is a huge nerf to Lidia's Oki at the wall. It makes Wolf 4 much worse outside of having a nerf level 3 when you're like out here. And that sucks. That's a huge change. It's a huge nerf. Because it's not only just about the knockdown, but it also makes the overall pressure and risk reward very different. Like doing forward 4-2 into 4 into the low now, you're carrying multiple risks, because like the 4 you can sidestep, of course. The horse 4, I should say, because they're both 4s. The horse 4 you can sidestep and then get launched. The wolf 4 you can get launched. So the reward for it at the wall was it like if it hits and knocks down, then you just get down 1+2 and it doesn't certain amount of damage. And if they crouch, you obviously have the wolf 2. And now because you just don't get that anymore, it heavily skews the risk reward. And you have to take more risks now, because after this, like you're +8 and then you can do like this for Oki, for example. But that's also at risk of you getting launch punished. So, but then they list it as a buff that you're +8, but this doesn't really do anything because it's just a knowledge check. If the opponent knows it's +8, then they're not gonna like attack into it. And so because of that, the point of this is that locks the opponent down, stops them from doing anything. So then again, when this hits, you can stab for Oki, but like having to do that launch punishable low is significantly worse than if you didn't and you just got the down 1+2 anyway. So it's a weird change. I guess the biggest thing too is that the +8 does help you in neutral, but you still again lose out on Oki. So it's just weird. It's really weird. Now, the thing is though, I say all of this, but because of the universal changes to waking up that we talked about before, I don't even know if it would still work. Because I can't test it. I can't test it because it doesn't exist anymore. So I have no idea if that would even work. And so if it doesn't work, then this is a buff because the old Oki would have been gone anyway. And now you just get the +8 at the wall and then you can force the mix up if you want to. So it's strange. It's all around a really strange change and a strange choice. And what's even stranger is that they made it -14 instead of 16, which I saw a lot of people were rejoicing over and like, oh my God, this is so good. But against half the characters in this game, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're playing against Jin, if you're playing against Raven, it doesn't matter if it's -16 or -14. So it helps in like 50% of her matchups, and then 50% of her matchups, it doesn't matter. So in the 50% of the matchups where it does matter, it's really nice. And the other 50%, then this move is just worse than it was before. Just objectively worse. So like, I don't know. It's so weird. Now, the one thing here that's important to keep in mind with the level 3 state of Wolf 4, and I don't know if this is gonna get changed. I'm just gonna show you something, and you tell me if this makes sense to you, if just visually. All right, just do this, and then does that make any like sense to you visually? Is it just me, or does it feel like she's animation canceling? I don't know if this is some weird bug with the slowdown or what. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but to me it almost looks like that the down 1+2 is canceling the animation because it's like having some weird interaction with the slowdown. I don't know what's happening here. It looks like an animation cancel, but the point here is that if you're at the wall like this, down 1+2 is just straight up guaranteed. And so this low, like it was before, except it doesn't require a microdash, although a microdash would help in those situations where you're slightly off axis like we just like we just showed. So it, like that happens. But yeah, this is a, what is this, 38 damage plus another 26, so that's 58, 64 damage low, which is really good if the opponent can't launch punish it. It's absurd, especially when you have, of course, the 2 for the wall splat that's going to do a similar amount of damage here. I guess you do have 3 stacks, so you could do like this, even though it's not going to re-wall splat. Could you please actually work with me here? That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. So yeah, it's actually the low is doing more damage than the wall combo. Oh, this game is so good. So those are the changes we'll for. It's all around really strange. I don't know what's going on with this animation cancel. I don't know if this is intentional. I couldn't tell you. It's weird. The move's weird. Hi, editing Seth here. Oh God, this is the part of the video where there was one thing I forgot to talk about that's actually pretty important. And part of me thought, oh, let's not bother putting this in the video. I'm recording the thing. But part of me thought, no, I probably should, because this is already 2 hours long anyway. So I gotta make it perfect. It's 4 a.m. right now, so there's no webcam on Sumi. So one other thing about the +8 situation that's really important to know is that a lot of people are doing this in the down forward 2 as a frame trap. The problem with doing this in the down forward 2 as a frame trap is that it loses to a armor move. Now, it forces the opponent to crouch, but universally, of course, they can do heat burst, and there are some characters like Elisa and Jack that can do power crushes from crouching because they're on an up input. So like up back you can do from crouching in the same way you can do like this from crouching with Lidia. But the thing is though, if you do a 14 frame move to beat this, then it's counter hit. And you might know where I'm going with this. Hopefully I can do it first try. I couldn't. Okay, great. Oh, God. It's 4 a.m. Just give it to me. I want to upload this damn video. There we go. God damn. Okay, so the point here is if you do forward 2 on a 1 frame link, it beats everything, including power crush. The opponent can't power crush. They obviously can't rage up because they can't power crush. They can't sidestep because forward 2 tracks to sidestep at these frames at +6 with a 1 frame link. It tracks sidestep both directions, so it's going to check sidestep both directions at +8. So the opponent is completely locked out of doing anything when you're +8. That's a big benefit to this, and it also is particularly important in certain matchups where characters have proper power crushes from crouch, but also just if your opponent is going to do a heat burst, having an option to be able to beat that without putting yourself at risk with like a down back 3 is really important. So this is just another part of Lydia's execution. They're adding on to a 1 frame links, and I believe that this is intentional. And basically, if you hear anyone talking about how Lidia is no execution, just tell them to shove the electric up their ass. Anyway, I'm going this is back to the normal video now. That's going to do it now for nerfs. Finally. So now let's talk about her minor buffs. Major buffs gonna be in a second. First, let's talk about the minor buffs that she now has. Okay, so this isn't in a particular order. This isn't from best move to worst move. This is just how I put it on my Excel spreadsheet because I don't know. I was too lazy to actually give it a proper order. So starting with the 4-3 sequence. 4-3 is really good. This is weird because we kind of have to talk about this in tandem, which is core circle forward, which is the major buff. So you know what we're going to? We're going to start the minor buff section with the major buff of core circle forward 4 because forward 3 is like directly, it leads directly into forward 3. So, core circle forward 4 now on hit puts you in horse at +17, meaning you get this guaranteed or you get this guaranteed. It's the same as forward 2 on counter hit. And it also leaves you in the same situation on block as forward 2 does. So here you left at +5, same as forward 2. So it's very nice. It's a huge buff. And it particularly helps against characters like Lily that sidestep Lidia a lot. And this isn't actually a huge, like, overpowered, ridiculous thing because there are weaknesses to it. One weakness is that obviously she can get jabbed out of it. So if someone's playing a lot of small Tekken, Lidia just gets flowed out of this and then dies. So that's a risk. The other problem is that slow. Even though it's 17 frames, it requires a core circle forward motion. It is not just an easy input. And so we're taking those 17 frames, and here I'm trying to do it quite quick, and we take however many frames it takes for us to get from like holding back to doing down. And then we have enough 4, 2, 2, and then we hit the input. So we're talking about like a 26 frame high homing move. Not 17. It's not actually that fast because we have to take motion into account, especially because while we're doing this core circle forward input, the opponent can hit us because we're not holding back. We're actually holding forward. So that's a problem with it. It's obviously a high as well. So like just ducking, or if the opponent step ducks here because they want to sidestep, say you're back 1 and then duck under for like your down back 3, which is a very common thing you do against Lidia, then it also loses to that. So if the opponent isn't just trying to sidestep for the sake of sidestepping, but they're sidestepping specifically to option select these things, step duck is still a fantastic option against this. So it has, it's not a end all be all solution. It's not perfect for everything that the opponent does. It's not always going to shut down sidestep, and you still have to be smart about it. The other problem too is its range, right? So if I'm like out here, that hit for some reason. And against some characters, it hits at further ranges than others. Maybe because Lidia has that wide stance where she's out like this, it's hitting a little bit farther. I'm not sure. I know against some characters, this doesn't hit range 2.5. Whatever the case, it does have a bit of a range problem to it. That can actually be mitigated with some execution by doing a Tiger Knee input. And if you don't know what a Tiger Knee input is because you're a Tekken player, hi, I'm Seth. I play Street Fighter. I don't play Street Fighter. I actually hate Street Fighter. But what a Tiger Knee input is, particularly, it comes from Sagat in Street Fighter because he has a move called Tiger Knee. And the way it works in Street Fighter is that you do the motion and then you do the direction you want to go, and that motion that you do is going to be buffered, and while you're moving you can hit the button to execute that motion you did before, and then you'll get it in a completely different position than what's intended. So if you think of something like a car cancel, for instance, it's similar to that. And so Lidia can do this with core circle forward because it's a core circle motion, and Tiger Knee inputs exist in Tekken. So if I'm like out here and I TK this input, check this out. Let me try that again. All right, check this out. Hi, I'm Seth playing Lidia. Welcome to Jackass. Look how much more range that has. I didn't quite get a full dash here. There we go. That's more what it looks like. So it requires some execution to be able to pull off properly. But you can see how this is essentially like a running homing high. It's absurd if you get the execution for this right. And I think this is going to be a big thing that separates really good Lidia players in the future because of how much advantage you get out of this. And as you can see, I don't really practice this, so I'm not very good at doing it. This is something I really need to practice more, especially in a real match scenario. But that's the input. It's just core circle forward, and then you press forward a singular time, because you can see if I do the core circle forward, it's not only buffering the core circle motion, but it's also still giving me the dash, and then I do the 4. You just have to do it with the right timing before you start running, because if you start running, then yeah. Because you're going down, forward, forward, forward. So I think that's causing it to think that you're running. So you have to do it at a specific time during the dash, but that's how you do it. And of course, this can have really big impact because like forward 2 isn't going to hit out this range, back 1 isn't going to hit out this range. So fishing for counter hit here is really difficult. And because Lidia's running moves aren't the best, it creates this dilemma, and they're very steppable. It creates this dilemma where Lidia has to kind of work to get in here, and this just gives her a really strong option for being able to do this, even if it's a high. Now, again, this requires execution. This isn't free. This isn't like Quadio running to, oh, I'm going for the punch. No, that's not how it works. It's not just you mash on the controller and it comes out. I implore you to give it a try, and give it a try in the real match. It's doing it in a real match scenario where you're constantly like moving around and trying to get around the opponent, stop yourself from getting hit, is very difficult, because it's if you're not used to the input and doing it like out in neutral like this, it is very heavy on the mental stack, being able to just throw that out on a whim. But it's very good, extremely strong. And of course, I don't think it needs any explanation as well, but if you're in heat too and you do this, oh, for a Christ's sake, then you can go into Heaven and Earth, right? So it gives you an option to be able to initiate with Heaven and Earth from long range, like from full screen almost, but it requires execution, just like pretty much everything with Lidia. So that's it on Core Circle Forward 4. That's one of her major buffs. And the reason we need to talk about that before Forward 3 is because Forward 3 has Core Circle Forward 4 in the move. And it acts the exact same way as Core Circle Forward 4 does. If this hits, gives you Horse 2 guaranteed. If it's blocked, same thing as Forward 4 2. So to break down this sequence very briefly before we start talking about the applications of it, let me take a drink of water. This move, if you didn't use it in Season 1, which I understand, the first hit carries some risk with it. First thing is that on block, the first hit is -11. Second thing is that even on hit, it is -4. The third thing is even if the first hit hits, the second hit, they can still crouch under and launch you. So there are a lot of layers to this, to being able to actually use this move, and it carries a lot of risk with it. The thing is, though, to make up for that, on counter hit, you can very easily, oh my god, you can very easily counter hit confirm this in the Horse 2, it gives you 56 damage. So if you watched my video on my top 10 buffs for Lidia, this is actually a move that I want to change. Same with Core Circle Forward 4, and they basically change it in the exact way that I wanted them to. The only difference is that it gives you a heat engager with Horse 2 if you like. And what I had asked for was for Core Circle Forward 4 to put you at +11 instead of +10, because before both of these moves were +10 on hit and gave you 1-2-2 guaranteed. What I wanted was for you to be able to do 2-2, just so the frames were a bit safer, you got a little bit more advantage, and you got more reward, because before doing these moves, carried the risk with them, like I said before, like Core Circle Forward 4, you could get jabbed, you could get duck, step duck, etc., etc. And then Forward 3 has all of the risks we just explained, where you can very easily get launched at multiple steps of doing this move, and the reward out of it wasn't very good. And so now, because of this, it's doing about the same amount of damage as you would if you got like 2-2, but it's just putting you in heat, which is great. Which also means if you're in heat and you hit this on counter hit, then you get full combo off of this, which is, it's very nice. It's extremely good. And being able to get 80 damage off of that homing move, or like this weird little counter hit keep out move, is nice. And so I feel that this move is really good to use if you're at a very specific range. You don't want to use it when you're here, because you just have bad things you could do. Back 1, for instance. Forward 4, 2. Moves like this are just going to be better when you're at close range, and you don't really want to be fishing for this counter hit when it carries such big risk with it, especially with the change to Red Poppy, which we'll talk about in the major buffs section. You just have better options in the 17 frame mid, that where the first hit's punishable and the second hit, no matter what you do, you can get punished for, even on normal hit and not counter hit. So the way you want to do it is you want to do it like out here. You want to do it at a range where back 1 isn't quite going to hit, but you need a keep out tool. Because if you're like out here, this is going to hit. And if the opponent is trying to run in and do something, or they're trying to jab check you or whatever, then that's very easy to hit confirm, and that gives you a phenomenal keep out tool to keep the opponent from just rushing in on you for free. And it's much better than the old way to do back 3, because it has more range to it, and it just does more on counter hit. And a lot of the time when you're out here, if you're going to hit the opponent with a move from like out here, chances are it's going to be a counter hit. So this is just a very good counter hit keep out tool you can use to stop your opponent from like out here doing something like a demon paw. And that gives it a lot of utility, but it's very specific utility. You don't just want to throw this out willy-nilly. Now, The other part of this too is you also have forward 3-2, and this is another thing that you can do. Now, I would almost never recommend doing this unless the first hit gets blocked and you want to finish it, because if the opponent tries punishing the first hit of this, see again how it's -11, and you immediately do this, you get full combo. I don't know why I'm not actually doing the right combo, because we have it set up here. You can see how you can't even delay even by accident, but we get full combo here, which does a lot of damage. It's a reasonable sum. Actually, we have 3 stacks, so we could do something very funny here. Why am I not doing Wolf 2? We could do something very funny here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. Go here. Bop. 115 damage. So this is pretty good. It's pretty good on counter hit, and that's going to stop the opponent from considering contesting this. But the thing is too that if I turn off the counter hit here, the second hit is -12 on block and doesn't do a whole lot if it actually hits the opponent. So if you're fishing for counter hit, like the move is good, but considering it's -12 and when you go in here you have to take multiple risks. If you want to do like the low, because the low's still -14, some characters can launch it, etc., etc. It's not the best thing to just throw out for no reason. So the way that you use this move is you use it like out here for keep out for counter hit. If it counter hits, just do the core circle forward 4. Just finish it. If you think the opponent is going to try interrupting it, then do the 2. That's it. You just want to do it if you want to do the counter hit. It's in many ways, it's better to just accept the fact that you might get punished and not do anything, then do the 4 and potentially get launched. Because if the opponent tries ducking under the 4 after you do this, who cares that you're -12? Just like hit them. You know, it doesn't matter if you're -12. They're scared of the follow-up, and they're saying you're trying to fuzzy duck it because it's like, okay, I do this as a poke, and then they sit there and let's just have them crouch block just to simulate this because of how much we can delay this. That's what I'm trying to show. So like if they crouch block and just like hit them, who cares if you're -11? Really, it doesn't matter. So that's what you want to use it for. And then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about in heat as well. Because this is -12, you can do this a little bit more freely because you can go in the heavy earth, but again, you're putting yourself at risk of getting punished with a grab or something. So it's not like a perfect thing. And if you do the high, it's the same situation as forward 4-2, which considering you can get ducked and launched, probably not worth it a lot of the time. So yeah, anyway, that's everything with the forward 3 sequence and core circle forward 4. So now let's talk about a little bit of a shorter one before we move on to one of the bigger ones. And that is back 3-4-1+2. Very small thing on this is that it got increased damage based on having an earth level. So you can see if I'm at level 3, then it does 53 damage. If I'm at 0, it does 46. So it's a very minor increase in damage, but it is pretty nice. It's not, you're not going to be using it in different situations than you were already. It's basically the same, but yeah. All right, yeah, that was a very quick one. Now let's get on the one that's going to take a little bit more time. Horse 3. Oh man, horse 3. Okay, so here's the thing. The situation that you get after horse 3 hasn't changed very much in like how this game is so bad. It hasn't changed that much. You actually get less damage, funny enough, with the heat engager than you would before with forward 1+2, if I'm remembering correctly. I think the forward 1+2 gave you like, I mean, I can actually just look if I want to. I can just do like this. It gives you 20 damage. How much is this doing? Oh no, okay, it is giving you 7 more damage. I thought I gave you more for, oh no, because I'm thinking of the clean hit. Maybe with the clean hit it is. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm rambling. Who cares? It's like 5 damage. No one cares. It's irrelevant. And if you do care, you either really like numbers or you're thinking about it too much, like me. So the thing is, this is basically unchanged, but it gives you heat engager, which is just giving you more opportunities to be able to like outplay your opponent. It still has the same risk that associated with it, right? Mainly that you can get flowed out of it. If you get flowed, that's just really unfortunate. So the risk reward on this, with it giving you a heat engager, is more in line with like what it should give you. And it's worth using a lot more now. The other thing too is if you're at the wall, normally this would just wall splat, but it doesn't anymore. So all that you're doing at the wall here, if this hits, is just like this. That's it. And it's giving you, again, a good chunk of damage. It's giving you 74, which is, it is more than it was before, actually, because this would just wall splat. So the fact that you actually get like a full combo here now is really good. It is a buff to the overall damage at the wall, and again, it makes sense considering the risk you have to take out of it, because you can get very easily floated. Now the other cool thing here too, which again I talked about in my top 10 buffs for Lidia video, is that it's plus 14. And so what you can do with plus 14 is a 1-frame link where hopefully I hit it the first time. I didn't. Let's see if I can do it this time. Nope, I can't, because I don't practice this enough. Well, I don't know how to do it off of this move because it's new, so like, you can't blame me too much. I know what it is. It's because I don't have my headphones on. And if you're seeing this right now in the recording, I did this on the first take. If you're not seeing it, then, well, you're not seeing it. I'm not even in heat. Let's try that again. This is just gonna make it funny if it actually works. Oh! So yeah, I cannot believe, I told you, it was the headphones. I swear to God, that was the first take. You think I would do that whole sequence if it wasn't the first take? You're out of your goddamn mind. Yeah, so the nice thing about the plus 14 situation here after plus 3 is that normally what you would do here is you would just do forward for 1 plus, it wouldn't matter. But now, like, you can do in heat dash to do 62 damage, or if you have the execution for the 1-frame link, you can get full combo. And if that gets all the way to the wall when you have 3 stacks, that can do an absurd amount of damage, like going into the hundreds. Let's see if I can actually do this here. There we go. It actually is easy with headphones, like, unironically. It's easy with audio. So if we do like this. Yeah, so 93 damage. So if we hit the 1-frame link, if we have the execution for it, then we're getting 30 extra damage. This is Lidia's perfect electric. And that's really cool to me. Emphasizing execution on stuff like the Horse 3, allowing for more player expression through a move like this, is really cool. And so, on one hand, I saw this, I went, is that a little bit too good to beat sidestep duck? But on the other hand, it just adds so much more that you can do with her that I like it. Because it's fine, I think, for a character to have a better ability to mix up like this and to counter the opponent's options if it adds something to the ability for the player to be creative. And that's what this move does. And this is one of my favorite changes in the patch, even though if you know me, you would look at this and probably think that I hate it just because of the kind of thing it can do there. It's a really hype thing if you're able to actually pull that off in a real match. And it's something I really wanted to do to try getting a clip of it. But that is Lidia's Horse 3. Now, moving on to the last minor change. This is gonna be one that surprises you because yes, I'm putting this above down back 4. What move do you think? What move do you think it is? What do you think it is? What do you think this change could possibly be that I think is just minor? The last one I'm saying in the minor buffs. It's gonna be. I'm waiting for. I'm drum rolling this because this is gonna be dramatic. Every single change that they made to have it in Earth level 3. Yep, Every single one. Okay, and let me explain. Because this is going to be something that everyone watching right now, whether or not you know about the changes or not, is going to be very confused by, because this is the thing that's being spread around by a lot, talked about by a lot of Lidia players, and the thing that makes her OP is her damage output off of this. In a real match scenario, none of these things are going to actually matter. They're not going to come up. The deletion of gray health, the combo, the extra combo, it's just not going to come up. Because yes, I can do a 3-2 combo here, and hopefully I do it the first try here. I can do a 3-2 combo here. I can like convert to the wall. I can forward 4-3 and do all of this and then do this. And oh my god, it's 109 damage without rage and with heat and blah 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. The thing is, if we don't have any of that, then like okay, let me trying to think of the right way to phrase this. The first thing is that the extra combo damage is nice, but it's very conditional, right? Everything about this is very conditional, being that you have to have 3 stacks of whatever the hell that thing is. Lidia main, by the way. So this is something that like I strive to get. I try to get to level 3. A lot of Lidia players don't. You look at Lidia players that play Lidia at like Tekken World Tour Finals. A Quail comes to mind. A lot of them will just go in the heat, do like Political Storm in the heat dash, not really use Heaven and Earth, and kind of ignore it as part of Lydia's moveset. And the reason for this is because Lydia's a really hard character. And so a lot of people, even people that play her in tournament, just default to the easy way to play it, which is just not worrying about the mechanic that takes a lot of thought to actually be able to utilize well against an opponent that knows what they're doing and how to play against it. So you don't see a lot of people going for Heaven and Earth level 3. I have always tried going for it because I think it's absolutely bonkers and broken. I tried combining those two words, and it's one of the reasons why I say Lidia is a top 10 character back in season 1. And I think one big reason why people didn't agree with me is because, 1, they're forcing the mix up with Lidia too much, but 2, because they don't really value what you get off of Heaven and Earth level 3. And that's, I think, a bigger reason why they're buffing it, because they want players to have more of an incentive to go into it. But the thing is that none of these changes actually help. They don't do anything, because like what I'm trying to get at, I try going for this. Realistically, you're going to get 3 stacks in round 2 or 3. More likely on average, it's going to be round 3. So, and there are a lot of times as well where you're just going to win a game without even getting to level 3. So this is something that's only going to happen in round 4 or final round. So it's kind of like Heihachi's big warrior instinct state in a way, but it's significantly worse, because what Heihachi does is he's allowed to just throw out all of these moves with reckless abandon. It doesn't matter. For Lidia, all of these moves rely on the opponent doing something for them to work. A grab requires them to do like an arm move or for him to get counter hit, at least at high level. At lower level, obviously the grab is kind of broken, and it just works because people aren't gonna break grabs at low level. But at higher level, this grab is just not like, it's only going to hit if the opponent does something. The down back 3, counter hit only. Don't think I need to explain that. Forward 3 requires them to get launched, which means, like, again, they have to do something. If they're just holding back like this, none of these things are actually going to hit the opponent, right? So not only is it conditional because of the stacks, but it also is conditional because the opponent has to do something. And that's why I think makes this balanced and even cool, because it's not just like brain dead aggression, throw-in moves. It plays into Lidia's core game plan, which is playing against the opponent and what they're doing, directly reading what the opponent's going to do and having a proper answer for it. That's what this does. And even then, you have to be under the right circumstances to do it. So like, yeah, I could do like a 3-2 into 109 damage combo, which is really good. but I can't just throw out 3-2 or I'm going to get ducked and die. I can't just do this as a poke, like if I'm playing Paul and just down 4-2, down 4-2, down 4-2. Lidia doesn't work that way, right? It's completely different. So you see a lot of these clips going around on like Twitter or whatever of like Lidia has this insane damage, TOD combos. And I can tell you the amount of times that this has come up in a real game going to Tekken God, so that's well over 100 games, is once. A single time off of a wall spot. And it did decide the game because of the gray health deletion, not even the combos. And that's the only time it's ever come up. In well over 100 games I've played, a single time. And I'm someone that already goes for this. I already go for the level 3. So it's not like I'm just trying to learn things or figure it out. I already do this. So that should give you an idea. The other thing is too, with the gray health deletion, the gray health deletion is mostly irrelevant. It is also very rare already, like regardless of the stacks actually hitting this stuff and how rare that's going to be and how rare that's going to come up. It's already rare for the opponent having gray health, if you do a lot of gray health damage to them, to be the deciding factor of the round. Because when we're at Heaven and Earth level 3, and we do, yeah, they are sent to recover. So if we do a heat engager, and then we just do a full hammer tech sequence, meaning that we're trying to get the maximum value out of our chip damage. So we do something like this, boop, 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 boop. 78 damage, we do Oki up the wall, and that, they're almost dead at this point. So we do all of that, we get like one mix up on them, we can do back one, for instance, to be a little bit safer. If it wall spot something, they're pretty much dead and they're in a one mix up situation. If not, then it's like we still have the +2, and a lot of the time this is just what decides the game. In fact, I will throw on screen right now, and it's probably going to finish before I stop talking, an example of how this works. In Season 2, this or that, because it's probably already over by now, is typically how a round will go with Lidia when she has 3 stacks. So it's rare, it's very rare for the gray health deletion to ever even come up. And the other thing with forward 4-3 as well is if you're at the wall here and you do a wall splat and then do forward 4-3, it doesn't give you that follow-up. It does the slump. So it doesn't even like give you anything extra at the wall. And in fact, it's doing less damage. And if you're already putting them in a one-touch situation, why would you go for the wall instead of just doing this, or then go into this heat burst, and then this doesn't work on Lidia, but just do that and then do your Oki, right? Because if you do the screwdriver tech, it's doing the same damage here as the forward 4-3 would. So why would you go for that when you could just do the Oki instead for the same damage and then put them in the situation with one touch then they're dead and you still have heat remaining? That's the question. And again, this is from full health, right? So if they have, like, let's just say they have, where are they here? Opponent health. Let's say they have 75%. And yeah, let's just say that they have gray health too. Let's restart at the default and then him with a heat engager and do the same thing. We do all of this, boop, boop. We do this, boop, boop. We do the heat burst, boop, boop. And then, like, Oki and they're dead. That's from 75. That just means that we hit like a down back 3 or something once in the round. So, you can understand maybe why the gray health deletion doesn't matter. As long as you're being smart with your heat and you're fully utilizing it properly, the gray health deletion just isn't a factor. It doesn't matter. They're already dead as long as you're doing this optimally. So it's a flavor thing and it's neat, and yes, sometimes it comes up, but it's like it doesn't do anything. It really genuinely doesn't. And you know that I'm not downplaying it, because I said Lidia was top 10 season 1 when all the pros like Joker and Fergus and everyone was saying she was bottom 5. I'm not trying to single anyone out, by the way. Those are just the 2 I remember off the top of my head that said she was bottom 5. But everyone, including pros, was saying she was bottom 5, and I said she was top 10. So I just need to make it clear that I'm not downplaying or anything. This is just my perspective on how it works. Like over time, maybe Lidia players go and disagree with me, and it's going to come up a lot for them. For me and how I play Lidia, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. So those are like the general level 3 changes. Now, there is one thing that I think is important to bring up with the changes, and that is the change to up forward 1+2. And the reason why this is more significant than the rest of them, like a lot of people are focusing on forward, 4-3, right? And then some people are talking about the low. Not a lot of people are talking about the grab. And the grab is really nice, not because of the great health deletion for the reasons we just explained, but because it beats parries. So one of the problems, one of the main issues that Lidia has is dealing with parries, especially if they're 3 frames. Characters like Azucena and Jin have 3-frame parries that prevents her from being able to do anything out of having a nerf a lot of her moves because they're +10, the fastest move is 13 frames. So it requires you to either A, just do something like this and then not go into the stance, and that doesn't leave you nearly as plus as it would before. Same off of Heat Smash. Heat Smash leaves you at +10, so you either have to delay it or not go into the stance or do the unblockable, all of which are things that just put more risk onto Lidia and prevent her from being able to just run her offense. The thing with the grab is that it gives you a really nice direct answer to these parries, especially the ones like Jin's where they're not actually doing a move, like Jin's, Lee, Lily, Leo, all of these characters with these fast punch parries, Lidia has problems with because on one hand, she can't really do anything to just stop it. She have to delay or do something and that puts her at risk. And then on the other hand, if she cancels a stance and they do a parry, Lidia doesn't have a lot of ways to be able to like properly punish that outside of having a hard read and then launching, right? And so again, that requires her to kind of do nothing. What this does is it allows us to go into our like +10 like this, or just something like that, and then grab to punish the parry. This is also true, I should point out, for Power Crush. Parry is the main thing I'm thinking of, because now it gives Lidia a proper threatening option to be able to deal with this scenario if the opponent is doing this and make the opponent think twice about it. And again, I really like this because it plays into Lidia's gameplay style of playing directly against the opponent and what they're doing. Basically just playing really good neutral. So that's gonna do it for that. There's one thing that I know I forgot about to talk about, and maybe okay, here's what I'm gonna do. There's one thing I forgot about to talk about, and I know it because I was thinking about it during that last section, like, oh, I forgot about this, and then I've forgotten it again after I did that part. So if I remember it, there's going to be a really weird cut right about now that might be me in the future or something, so if, just ignore the man behind the curtain. Okay, one more thing I forgot to talk about is Horse 3+4. So here's the thing with Horse 3+4. This move is something that you only use in specific situations. So, like, the thing is here that it's a homing high, it's only +6, puts you in wolf, and that means that like all of your moves can get interrupted. Like if I do this is a 20-frame move, so it obviously gets jab interrupted, but if I do anything besides the 2, it just gets jab interrupted, and obviously if you're not at the wall, then it doesn't really do anything. So the move kinda is bad because the opponent can just like jab or down jab you with not a lot of risk. And what it does on hit is it gives you Wolf 2 guaranteed for 44 damage, which again, like, isn't great. And you can't even do like a down 1+2 because of the pushback like you could if Horse 4 hits. So where you're going to be using this move is at the wall here, if we're like here. So because it gives you wall stagger at +16, which means that the opponent can't really do anything about your mix-up. So if you do this, go in the stance and then do this, the opponent actually can't interrupt this, whereas if you did Horse 4, they can, because you're only +8, they can interrupt you with a 10 or 11 frame move. So that's the real utility of this move, but of course the risk is that it's a high, so it can get ducked and launched. It's also super slow. And then if the opponent is being really defensive, like obviously again you can do this at the wall and then down 1+2 is guaranteed. But if, let's say, you're at 2 stacks and you can't do that, what's another thing that you can do here, besides obviously doing the mid to try wall splatting them? Well, the other thing that you can do here, because you're so plus, is cancel stance and then front crouch mix-up. That's another option that you can do, and if you're delaying your timings like this, you might get someone that wants to attack into this, and then maybe you could back one or something, or you could like crouch up and then do forward 2, or just do something and mix up your timings. There are a lot of things that you can do with this move. I find that very rarely comes up because the problem I have with it is that it's so slow. I would only want to use it against an opponent that's super defensive, and a lot of the time I'd rather just manually go into Wolf anyway instead of doing this attack that's 20 frames, because if we think like doing forward 2 into this versus just doing forward 2 into this, you're not risking yourself to get like counter hit. You're not risking yourself getting ducked, because if they duck, then you go into Wolf and you just do the mix up anyway. And if they sidestep, so let's say that they sidestep right and then duck after forward 2, if I go into Wolf here, then it just realigns, so it doesn't matter. If I do forward 2 into 3+4, if they step guard properly, which the bot isn't going to do, then they just block it anyway. And if they do the proper defense against horse, which is sidestep right duck, then they just get, you just get launched, because the 17 frame armor move loses to sidestep right duck with the right timing. So if the 17 frame high move loses, then the 20 frame high move is going to lose too. So overall, I just think this move isn't good. I think that, generally speaking, the way that this move is going to be used is more as a knowledge check and against people that aren't doing the right defense against Lidia. And even then, you only want to do at the wall because the plus frames are just terrible. But I think this move sucks. I don't see any real utility for it. And I don't think that you should use it. I just think if you're going to use this, you're better off manually going into Wolf, because you're taking less risk, because you're not at risk of just getting counter hit. Like, you know, if you do this, you're only +5. So you do this and then this, and you just, if they have a magic full, like if Steve back ones you, you're just dead. But if he back ones you, if you just manually go into Wolf, then like you don't die, and it's doing the exact same thing that the move's doing anyway. So like, I just don't see the point. I don't see the purpose of the move. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good, and I don't think you should use it. I don't know. And granted, again, depending on when you're looking at this might change. So look out to see if anyone's come up with tech with this move, or if there's actual use for it. But I just can't see a single use for this move. So I think that you should just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Otherwise, we're going to move on to... Oh, I remember it. There's one more minor buff I forgot to talk about. Sidestep 2. I don't like this move. Okay, moving on to major buffs. So all this does, okay, let me explain a little bit more, because this is already like over an hour recording. So this is going to be a long video. I may as well talk about it. You're here, I'm here, we're all here. You're probably listening to this in the background or something, and that's a-okay. Sidestep 2 leaves you +10 on hit, -1 on block, which means you can still armor through what they do, but it's not great. And the other thing too, oh god, I hate this move, is on counter hit. Maybe I'll like it later in the future. It gives you horse 2 guaranteed, and horse 2 sucks. I hate horse 2. Horse 2 is a terrible move, and I very much dislike it. The thing is with this move, this is an 18 frame move that's -1 on block and only works on counter hit. Sidestep back 1 is an 18 frame move that tracks sidestep with the right timing as a heat engager by itself and +2 on block. I don't know why you would use this over sidestep in the back one. I really don't. I can't think of a single reason. I've tried my damnedest. I can't think of a single reason you would use this instead of back one, except for maybe some weird Oki setup, but I don't believe in that unless someone else comes up with something, or maybe I come up with something in the future. I can't be bothered right now though. So that's everything. Moving on to the major buffs, and let's actually talk about a major buff that's in line with the 3-stack change, and that is counter hit down back 3. Now again, this isn't about the gray health deletion, and in fact it's so little about the gray health deletion, it's so irrelevant, I'm going to turn off my state here. The important part about down back 3 is, one, the damage it's doing 52 damage on counter hit. It's kind of good. It's really good. But the main thing about it is now -2 instead of -10. And so the significance of this, if the opponent did a mid wake up kick before, everything that Lidia would do would lose to it except for 2-2-2-4 or like a jab 1-2, whatever. That's it. Like 11 frame or faster move. That's the only thing that beat it because of the frames. So it left Lidia in this weird position where it's like, yeah, you get the counter hit and knock down, but now you can't do anything in the opponent's mid wake up kicks. And what I do against a lot of Lidia players, I just get counter hit by this. I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I don't care. Just do mid wake up kick and then reset neutral, and then it's fine. And I'm essentially -9 for getting hit by that, but don't have to deal with Oki, which is just great. And then if it hits them because they tried doing Oki, then it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm just winning. So now, because it's only -2, if the opponent does a mid wake up kick after this counter hits, bop. Yeah, and if you're at 3 stacks, this is half your health. This is a total of 90 damage. It's exactly half health. In fact, I can actually show you because showing is fun. How do I do this again? I gotta go here and then this one, and then I gotta go opponent's health and make this 100%. Yay! That's that, and then bop. See, exactly half. He has 90 health. So that's really good, and it also means that you can loop into this because down back 3, of course, hits on the ground. And if they try doing a wake-up kick or anything, then it'll just beat that and counter hit them. If they stay on the ground, down back 3 will hit. So it just gives you a lot of really nice options here. A lot of things that you can do. Obviously, down back 4 is going to lose because it's 22 frame move, and wake-up kick's 22 frames. So you can't do the down back 4 Oki like we talked about a little bit before. But this gives you a lot of options with the down 1+2. And of course, you can also do for the mid forward 2, which will also beat the mid wake-up kicks. And give you the counter hit for the heat engager. So this is very nice. This is huge. Makes this low so much better. But again, like we talked about with the level 3 changes and why this is healthy, it requires the opponent to do something, right? So again, it's playing into Lidia's core strengths without giving her this brain dead mix-up. As much as the Kazuya players want to tell you that Lidia is just a brain dead character with no execution and just does the casino 50-50 mix-up all day, these are statements that are made by people that don't know what the hell they're talking about and have never labbed this character once in their goddamn life. And I don't care if their name starts with V. I don't care. That's not how she works, and this move demonstrates that. The only way that this works is if the opponent does something, right? You have to counter hit with it, and you're taking a lot of risk because of how punishable it is. So it's fine. And it's a really cool addition that she has to give her her down back 3, where it carries a lot of risk with it. If she has the right read, if the opponent's going to do like a power crush or something, it just gives her much more reward, and it feels like it's a lot more balanced given the state of the game and how aggressive people are and how much they just want to throw out buttons and how much in a lot of ways they have to throw out buttons, and it helps out with like her frame traps and stuff too because it's 16 frames, of course. So all very good stuff. Moving on from that, I'm completely lost on my spreadsheet because I've gone a little bit out of order of how I had it just because of how the video goes, because we do this extemporaneously here on youtube.com/Sesujin and just twitch.tv/Sesujin. By the way, I'm going to take this opportunity in the middle of the video because I just brought this up and we're well over an hour in, regardless of editing, and how I've been going with this is probably not going to be much editing, so we are like an hour and a half into this video. If you're at this point in the video, hey, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I was told that saying this in the middle of the video helps with the audience and the people that are watching actually do the things, and that helps me out a lot. So please like and subscribe, and feel free to look at my Twitch channel where we have Lidia gameplay. Okay, anyway, I'm moving on now. That's enough of that. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about a little bit more of a minor change that is quite nice. 3+4. 3+4. This move got changed so that the second hit will track, essentially, if the first hit is blocked or hits. And I noticed this immediately when I started using this move, the change this. It is very good. So really, this is just making 3+4 a usable move that Lidia has now. That's the main thing. Before it was unusable because it was too inconsistent because if the opponent did a micro step like that. Did you see that micro? You can see the 3 frames of down in the input, but you didn't actually see her do it. But a step like that that minuscule caused the second hit to whiff, so you just never use this move. But it's actually very good. There are a couple of reasons for it. The first reason is just because of the range on it. It's one of Lydia's longer range moves that she has. It leaves her plus 23 into Cat, which means that the opponent is going to have a little bit... they're going to have to be really careful if they try contesting this, which means this is essentially a mid that she has that puts her in Wolf, when you think about it. And that's... I don't think I need to tell you how good that is. But the other thing about this, too, which is something that's really interesting and the most unique aspect of this move, and a reason why I really wanted to like it, and it's just like it basically didn't function before, is that it has so much pushback on block. You know how if you do like down 4-2 and then try jumping back, you just get flowed out of it? If you do 3+4 and then jump back, okay, apparently that doesn't work against Lidia. That's cool. Okay, well, against some characters, it'll avoid this. I guess it doesn't against Lidia, so that just makes me look like a damn idiot. But I guess what I can do instead here to demonstrate this, because this is also going to work, is if I do like 1-2 here, just as an example to show you, and we do down 4-2 and then try jumping back. You see how we get punished for that? If we do this and then jump back, it whiffs. It completely whiffs. And so it's the extra range that you have on this because of the pushback that makes it actually pretty unique and interesting to use in neutral, because you can just make stuff like that whiff and then heavily punish the opponent for doing. And again, you look at the range on it too, and it's a nice tool that you can use like out here to actually be able to get in and give yourself a little bit of safety against the opponent retaliating. And if that's happening, then that's going to give the opponent a little bit of pause if they try attacking against you, because if you jump back against a big move and then you're able to properly punish them, like let's just have the Lidia do down 4-2 here just to simulate a bigger move that they could do, which I think also floats them after a down 4-2 and they go back, right? Yeah, it does. So if we do this and then jump back, you can see how that whiffs, and we can actually get a 15 frame out of this. You can tell I didn't test this beforehand because I'm lazy, but you can see like there we get 4-2-4 as a punish. So it actually gives a use for our little back sway move, and it might give the opponent some pause trying to attack into this, and then that's going to open up our Cat mix-up. So even though we're 0 on block, it might give us an avenue to actually be able to enforce that mix-up because of the mind game that's being played there. So it's a really cool move, and I think this is going to be a good neutral tool that Lidia can use in a lot of situations, and that's why I really wanted to talk about, because I think it's an move like down back 4. It's going under the radar a little bit. And then that's, of course, that doesn't even go to, like, when you're in heat and you do this, and then you can go into heaven and earth, of course. So, that's that. Speaking of Cat, all of the Cat changes. Every single one of them. And there are 3. The first one we'll talk about, which is really easy. The 4... I gotta turn off counter hit, man. I hate this whole key charge thing. The 4 here does 14 damage instead of 10. And this is really nice. I wouldn't want it to do any more damage. I think 14 is the perfect spot for it to be at. I love that it's plus 14. That said, it being minus 14 still feels kind of bad if you're playing against Jin. But it doing 14 damage instead of 10 makes a lot more sense. Because the whole point of this is to go into here and stop for the wolf mix-up. That was the main purpose of it, with it doing so little damage. The problem with the wolf mix-up, and again, this is something I talked about in my top 10 buffs for Lidia video. I almost, either Bandai Namco and I are directly connected and we're thinking the same thing with this character, or they're watching my videos. I swear to God, they are getting this directly from the source. But the problem with Cat 4 is that it puts you in Wolf, but only at +8, which means they can armor through the mids. They can still sidestep the 1, and the low is obviously launch punishable. Now, the low being launch punishable has been fixed. I say fixed. It's been changed. That's a bad way to phrase it. It didn't need to be fixed. It got changed, and I like the change for the most part. But there's still obviously risk that's associated with it, and because of that, they made this 14 damage instead of 10. So you're getting you're getting enough damage to justify the minus 14, and then what's not justified by the damage is made up for in the wolf mix-up and the fact that the 4 is now, well, better. So it gives more reasons to use this, and it makes it better situationally. So like, again, for example, at the wall here, if I do this and then do the 4, like I said, we can do that, right? And that they stood up there, and I don't know how, but that was half their health. So if we're at the wall, then this is obviously going to have a bigger effect than if we're out in neutral, and that's always been the case. But now that this is minus 14, it just gives more. Oh, they did a wake up game. It just gives more of a advantage for you doing that without having to take as much risk. But unlike a lot of changes in this season, the risk is still there, and it makes sense why it's there. Like the risk reward and the opponent's ability to defend all makes sense. So that's a good change. So the other two we're going to talk about together, Cat 1 and Cat 1 plus 2. So these, the 1 plus 2, the problem with it before is it was minus 11. And because it was punishable, there was no reason to do it over Cat 1. And I didn't talk really about stances in my video on Lidia for various reasons, because one of them is I think that stances are just like, too heavily focused on. Another reason is because I thought that her neutral tools were the things that need to be addressed more than the stance stuff. The point I'm trying to make here is that if I was to include stance things in the video, Cat 1 plus 2 would have been on there, because it's just completely pointless. There's no reason for it with it being minus 11. Now it's minus 9. And so that makes you ask, well, if this is minus 9 and puts you in Wolf here for a mix-up at plus 27, then what's the point of Horse 1? And I'll tell you the reason. I'll tell you what it is. So you have to think of the neutral game. If you do 1 plus 2 here, which is again minus 9, you lose your turn. If the opponent blocks it, you lose. Unless you're in heat, if the opponent blocks it, you lose your turn. That's it. It's game over. And even if you're in heat, then it still puts you in a mix-up situation that the opponent doesn't really have to deal with, unless like you're at level 3 and you're at the wall or something, a very specific situation. So the 1 plus 2 carries the benefit of it of, if this hits, then you do get just a mix-up. You just get this, and that's great. The problem is that you just lose out on your turn, you lose out on your neutral, you lose out on your momentum, and that's bad. But it's really nice if you have a hard read. The thing is with the 1 here, let me just do this to go in the stance. This is now minus 4 instead of minus 8. So, and it has more pushback. So what happens now is, instead of you doing 1, 2, 2, taking your risk with the mid of game punch parried, or getting hit by a power crush, because yes, power crush does beat this, and then getting like a little bit of reward on it, and then if it's blocked, then you lose neutral anyway, and they can also sidestep it after 1, 2, 2. Like just hold on. Just deal with it. It didn't give enough to justify how much risk you had to take at every avenue of this game, because the defender just had so many options, and they still have a lot of options, right? And that's good. We're not taking away options from the defender, we're just adding more value to the move. The problem is that you were forced to use this move because it was like only mid. And that's one of the reasons why, if you saw my gameplay later in the season, I started doing this more, because this is just better than doing the 1 as a mid. Because not only does it beat Power Crush or Rage Off, they do it when you go in the stance, but it also essentially acts as a mid, because of how fast the second hit comes out, and you can hit confirm if you do the mid, and then just like get combo at the wall and stuff. It just provides more value. And the difference between being minus 8 and losing your turn, losing momentum, and getting mixed, and then just getting punished at minus 10 anyway, for the most part, just doesn't. It's like, yeah, it's worse, but the value you get off of this, and the lower amount of risk that you have to take over being able to get like sidestep to power crush or whatever through the 1, just made it so much better as a mid. And now that's not the case, because with it being minus 4, that means if the opponent, actually if the opponent decides to like retaliate how they normally would at minus 8. So let's say we do this, block it, and then the opponent does like a back 1 with Lidia or something, right? And let's set them to block here, and they block this. We can sidestep. What the? Oh, because I don't have it set on punishment. My bad. We can sidestep this now. Whereas in these situations before, we just wouldn't have been able to. And then another thing, too, that's really cool about this is we can actually parry stuff. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow during my recording for Acro. Thank you. So if the opponent tries to jab check us now, too. So let's just say this as an example. This is actually one of the few setups that Lidia has to be able to make this move actually useful. So it carries a lot of different new mind games and utility with it that makes it so even though we're still taking a risk after the 10 frame punish, it's giving us enough afterwards, meaning that we don't just completely lose our turn and give the momentum to the opponent, even though we should be getting rewarded for punishing with a 10 frame move. That it not only just makes this whole situation better out of Cat, but it also means that our 10 frame punish isn't like one of the worst punishes in the game. Worst 10 frame punishes in the game, I should say. And it means that like our 1-2-2 isn't putting us in a mix-up situation anymore for hitting the punish. I mean, it still is in some ways, but we're at least not getting completely screwed because of the options that we have. So that's good. So all of those Cat changes are huge changes. They are very nice, and they change the dynamic of how Cat works and the punishment and everything completely. It's very good. Just trying to make sure here that we're almost towards the end here. Yes. So now let's talk about probably the biggest buff, and it's not the last one. I'm saving the last one for last for a reason, because I'm watching whoever you are at Bandai Namco that's watching this. I know that you're watching this video. You've played your hand. You've played your hand, and I know. And you know what? I appreciate you for making such an amazing update for Lidia. I can't emphasize enough how happy and grateful I am that they did such a good job with Lidia. They did fantastic. And so if anyone at Bandai Namco was watching this, I know it's been doom and gloom for like everyone, but for me, I'm going to be honest here. I have a lot of qualms with how Bandai Namco and the Tekken team do stuff, and I'm vocal about that. I make it known when I think they're doing things right and doing things wrong, and I think it's fair that we talk about when they do things right. And in this case, what you did with Lidia, phenomenal. I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be more thankful that you did this right. And that's why this is an hour and a half of me being happy and excited. And that's why when I'm actually playing the game, I'm like one of the only people that's happy and excited, because the changes are just so good. So thank you. If there's anyone from Bandai Namco watching, or maybe passing stuff along to Bandai Namco, genuinely, thank you for the changes that you did to Lidia. They are just, I couldn't have asked for better. If I was to design a balance update for Lidia, it would almost exactly be what this is. It's just phenomenal. So that little tangent out of the way, biggest one, Red Poppy. This is a move I actually already used in Season 1, and a lot of Lidia players were confused why I used it. Well, not where I used it, but why I used it. A lot of Lidia players saw me use this move and were like, what the hell is Seth doing using Red Poppy? I think Rainbow Neos almost exactly said that. Why is he using Red Poppy? Huh? Part of my secret tech, because this move was actually already really good in Season 1, and they just made it so. There are a couple of reasons for it, and hopefully I can get through all of them, because I'm starting to run out of steam after recording for an hour and a half straight and trying to keep this up as much as I can, so I have to do the smallest amount of editing possible of how long this damn video is. Hopefully I also don't run out of storage space, and that might be an issue. Anyway, so this is the second hit. The first hit hasn't really changed. The first hit of this, stop punching me. The first hit of this hasn't really changed. It's -12 on block. It's +2 on hit. It used to be minus on hit. And so if you do the first hit here, you can kind of just do things afterwards if you only do the first hit, because of the second hit, which is dun 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 dun. And we actually already showed this with the forward 3 thing. A counter hit launcher. So this is something that I actually used a lot back in season 1, even though it's minus 14, because of not only, I messed that up, but because of not only the counter hit property, but how much you can delay the second hit. You can delay it a ton. Look at that delay. So you can delay it so much that the opponent can actually do like their punish on the first hit with it being minus 12, and you can get counter hit for them doing their proper punish. That's how much you can delay this second hit, and that creates a lot of mind games where if you do the first hit and the opponent's aware of it and they just stop doing anything, then you can start doing mix-ups even though you're minus 12. So that's something that's already really good about it. And because the throughout the second hit being a full counter hit launcher, it's very sensible to just wait it out and not attack into it and let the opponent just do it. Like, just do the mix up. And I did the wrong combo again. But now it's even better. And I think this might actually, of all of the changes for Lidia in season 2, whether it's like the Wolf 4 thing, whatever you think about, all of the level 3 changes, the counter hit down back 3, I think this is the most powerful one, and I think it actually might be a little bit too good. Because that same sort of logic applies where the counter hit launcher is so scary that the opponent doesn't want to really attack into it. But now you have a charged version here that puts you +8 into Wolf, which is the same thing as this. So it's not ridiculously overpowered because it still has the same counterplay options as before. If you go for the 4, the 1, the opponent can jab interrupt it. If you go for the 1 here, then the opponent can sidestep it. If you go for the 2, the opponent can power crush it. If you go for the 4, again, you can like jab interrupt it, or you can block it and then do your punish. So there is still counterplay. It's not just giving Lidia this stance 50-50 option for free, unlike some other characters, Steve. And I think that's good because now not only do you have this threat where this is minus 12 on block, so it's actually punishable. The fully charged version can be sidestepped or interrupted. And even when this gets fully charged and blocked, it's still a mix-up situation that the opponent, that the defender has options to be able to defend against all of the options. And even if they know like the mid's coming but they don't want to risk it, -7 Lidia loses her turn. And in order for Lidia to not do that off the mid, she has to do something a little bit riskier, like the 1 which can get sidestepped and launched. So the defender always has options here. So it's still very good. But what makes this so absurd is the counter hit launcher on it. So again, we're going to show like, let's show a combo that's more realistic. So let's not even have the heat state activated. Let's not be in heat, non-rage, anything, just to give you a full demonstration of what something that you'll actually see in a real game looks like. So what you can do is like this on counter hit, go here, boop, boop, go to the wall, activate heat here while they're on the wall, so bop, 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 and that's 100 damage. And that's why I used this move back in season 1, even though it's -14. The threat of that is so huge that it gives the opponent a reason to not attack into it. And again, this is like 0 stacks, no rage, no heat dash or anything like that. We're converting to the wall from mid-screen. And so you can imagine how much damage this is going to do if we have like 3 stacks or something, right? And that's a realistic combo that you're going to commonly see in a game. And this is game changing. So the fact that you have this counter hit launcher while also being able to be charged, put you in Wolf 4 mix up is so good. And the nice part about this too, you can hit confirm this with negative edge. So if you see how I'm doing that input, I'm immediately pressing the 1+2 and I'm letting go of the 1+2 to hit confirm this. So again, it's a part of what I talked about in my Lidia execution video, saying that Lidia has every type of execution. Not only with the core circle forward 4 did they give her a Titan knee input, like a proper one instead of just the dash blossom stuff, but now we actually hit confirm with negative edge, which is a very unique thing in Tekken, and it's really cool that Lidia has that. And then if we counter hit confirm this, or just not even counter hit confirm this, but if we hit confirm this, let's turn counter hit off just to demonstrate, then we're at +24, so we can do Wolf 1. And if we do Wolf 1 here, then we do this, and the opponent actually can't defend against that at all if they don't have a 3-frame parry. The only way they'd be able to stop that is to have a 2 if they have specifically a 3-frame parry. Otherwise, that's guaranteed we'll leave it left at +6. And of course, we can mix that up with the low if we so choose for the +8 situation. So we're getting a guaranteed off of this. Sorry, while in heat. 40 damage plus 19, so 59 damage off of this mid that we can charge the +8. That's huge. And then we can also mix this up with the low. And again, this is a very specific thing, so you shouldn't look too much into it, but this is just showing the full potential of the move. If we're at the wall, if we're in, we don't even need to be in heat. But if we have enhanced state level 3 here, and we do this, and the opponent doesn't crouch block, boom, that's more than half the health. They did a wake-up kick there. That's why I did 39 instead of the other damage, whatever it is, 24, I think. I don't remember. I should actually turn it off just for the sake of demonstration, because it was so far, and I may as well try to make this as perfect as I can. So yeah, do this, boop, boop, and then down 1+2 here, and that's more than half their health. And again, that's guaranteed at -14, so some characters can't even launch punish this. And again, we're hit confirming this, right? But there's, like I said, there's a risk to it, right? Because if we choose to just do the thing and they block the first hit, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna mix up with the second hit, they block it, -12. If we fully charge this, then the opponent can sidestep it. In fact, I don't even know if they can sidestep it on here. I'm gonna learn this right now. They cannot. It's only on block. But they can sidestep this, and then we get launched for it. So there is a risk that we have to take. And again, if we do this and then go into stance, if we don't charge it, then yeah, we hit them for sidestepping. But I was about to say, I was about to lose my mind if you could sidestep that second hit on block. That was gonna change everything. Might make me record this whole section, but thankfully that's not the case. Move my mic a little bit closer here in case I was being a little bit quiet for a lot of this. But yeah, so it's carrying risk with it, and then even when we go into the stance, there's risk here too. At least in regards to the low or the mid, right? But yeah, this is huge. It carries a lot of implications. I could keep going on and on and on, but this, in my opinion, is Lydia's biggest buff. And a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. A lot of people wouldn't see it that way, but this is truly, I think, something that is very strong. You should be doing, and maybe even a little bit too good. So yeah, and another thing I want to talk about too, just because I kind of forgot about it, is if we're like in heat and we are, let's just say the opponent tries crouching here for the 4 and we end up hitting this because of that. Look at this damage that we're doing. Again, this is level 3, so if we're at level 1 or level 2, it's going to be doing a little bit less, but that's half their health. And they can't stop this because of how plus we are. They can't parry it, they can't sidestep it, and the reward we get out of this because of it is just monumental. It's crazy how good this is. So yeah, this is really good. And then the other thing we can do too, just to sort of demonstrate a little bit more, is they changed the chip damage on Wolf 1, which I think is insignificant enough to not really have to talk about, but that's 17 chip damage if we fully charge this. And again, if we're in heat, just to give you an idea of this, if we hit this, and this is taking a risk, of course, because we're fully charging this, but that's 29 damage. That's 69 in total with us still being at +6. Insane stuff. Really good move. You should be using it. Oh, it keeps getting better. I keep forgetting. Another thing about this too that probably no one knows about except for me, because again, I actually use this move in season 1. If you are +6, so let's say we do have it in Nerf 2, this tracks sidestep. Yeah, it tracks sidestep both directions. So one of the big benefits to doing this is we talked about forward 2 and how this tracks sidestep on a 1-frame link. If I could actually do it here, evidently I actually can. I'm just incapable of doing that now. There we go. It tracks to both sides, but that requires very tight execution. But now what you can do, if you don't want to do that execution, is this. And then just look at this sequence. Oh my God. So that's a whole thing that you can do. It's very good. It's a very strong move. And this also changes up how we can do our ham attack in a quite significant way, because if we do ham attack here, and we'll talk about ham attack more in a second, because I know again that one of these people at Bandai Namco is watching this, and they're just waiting to hear me say something to get Lidia nerfed. I know. But if we do hammer tech here, so let's do this, and then do here, boop, boop, and then while running one. While running one is something that the opponent can sidestep. So the thing is, though, if we do this and then the opponent sidesteps here, we can do a couple of things. We can either do, hold on, I did this completely wrong. I should save a recording. Let me do it like this. So let's do this, boop, 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 and then let's have them sidestep right, save a recording here, and then if we do while running one, if we delay it a little bit, then it will realign. But that's still taking a risk, because if they sidestep duck or they delay their sidestep or something, then we won't get it. If we and this is gonna be hard, if we instantly do while running one, again, it's just because of how the recording's working, the sidestep will beat this. I know I'm not doing a good job of demonstrating because apparently my execution is bad, but sidestep will beat that and then we lose. Now, because of the red poppy, we can do, oh my God, this is gonna be hard. We can do that. And then we just get the same sequence that we talked about before. Oh my God. There we go. And of course, if they block this, then they take the chip damage. If they don't, then they're dead. We did this off a heat engager with full health. They were at full health when we did the heat engager, and now they're at 16 because they got hit by that. Isn't that crazy? And then again, if we do this same thing and we have them set to do a block on this just to demonstrate, boop, boop, 63, and then we can do heat smash, and now they're in rage. Now they're in rage at the wall in this case. Crazy stuff. And that just changes up our hammer attack even more. And now too, if they, let's say they don't sidestep and we do red poppy and they just block it, charge up, do this, look at that chip damage, and now we can use this in lieu, I think I'm saying the right thing there, of while running one. I should just stay instead and stop acting like damn hipster. And it's giving us more options and expanding our capability of doing hammer attack. And then again, just like how we would do with the down back 3, we could do that if we want to just throw a low in there and reset on neutral to get the opponent more of an incentive to duck, and then that's how we can enable like the Wolf 1. So overall, there's a lot of utility for this move. There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of ways you can use it. It's a very good move, and I implore you to use it more. And last, but certainly not least, comes after the next major change, which is heat 1+2 and while running 1. If you use them when your heat's about to run out, will still put you in heaven and earth now instead of depleting your heat. So if we do while running 1 here right before we're about to run out, you see how we go into heaven and earth. That wouldn't have happened in season 1, which changes up a lot of how you play the neutral game when you're about out of heat. It's a very nice buff. It's a great quality of life change. And now, final thing, the hammer attack. And instead of going on this whole mumbo jumbo talking for another 20 minutes about what they changed with hammer attack, let me just tell you this. They changed the amount of damage when you're in heat on 1+2. Charge level 2 went from 30 damage to 50. So the level 2 charge now is doing more damage than the level 3 charge did before. So let me just show you what happens with hammer attack now. Hammer attack has never been more alive. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the season 2 Lidia changes. This is one of the longest videos I've ever made. Jesus Christ. In fact, I think it might be the longest video. It's almost 2 hours. My God. But I hope this gives you a full overview of all of the changes with Lidia and strategies that you can use with her now in season 2. Again, I know I'm saying this at the end of the video, but you know, this is why timestamps are here, and I hope that this was able to help you out. I'm not going into the full hammer attack sequence because we already showed it, but this is why I think that Bandai Namco actually watched one of these videos on Lidia. And something I was saying too, about the season 2 changes, just as a conclusion here. Let's talk about a couple of things before I get to the conclusion, actually. So, general things that changed: her neutral got stronger, her heaven and nerf stance got a little bit weaker, hammer tech is amazing, screwdriver tech is kind of not there anymore, at least not as prevalent, but they gave her a new Oki option with down back 4 to make up with that, and her mix-ups and stuff in general hasn't changed. Like, her lows haven't changed, her risk reward on that hasn't changed. Instead, what they've done is they've given her more things, more tools to utilize to be able to counter whatever your opponent's doing. Plays into her strengths, how strong Lidia players are going to play her, and because of that, the changes that they made with Lidia are top-notch. They are fantastic, I love them, and they did an excellent job with her. But the main thing with Lidia in Season 2 that I'm really grateful for is that we dodged the bullet. Because you look at characters like Steve, like Lee, and there are a lot of characters where they went in the opposite direction of Lidia. They removed a lot of the things that make those characters unique and interesting and special, and the reasons why people play those characters. And in Lydia's case, they did the opposite and they enhanced the cool and unique aspects of her. And there are a couple of reasons why I think that's the case. But the main one that I think is the reason why they did the change they did and why they were so smart about them is because of how few of us they are and how little we complain. You know, like, yeah, Lidia players will talk about, like, oh, I wish that, like, you could cancel stance, which, by the way, would be a terrible idea, and I'll probably make a video on that in the future. And they'll talk about, like, the lows and stuff, and I wish that the lows were buffed. But for the most part, there are only a couple of us that are really talking about Lidia at, like, high level and talking about, the strong aspects of Lidia and why we like playing the character. And I think all of us as Lidia players are very vocal about why we like Lidia and why we enjoy Lidia. And it's not because of the casino gameplay that the non-Lidia players complain about that doesn't actually exist, screaming about someone that doesn't exist. That's what they do. Instead, a lot of us, I think, talk about just how much we love the character, we love how well she's designed, we love playing her, and we love her for who she is instead of what she could be. I know I say that all the time. That's why I make all of these videos, and that's why all of you watch these videos. You watching right now, even though we're like 2 hours into this monstrous recording. That's why. Because we love the character for who she is. And I think that because there are so few of us, it's no coincidence that Hammer Tech got directly buffed. It's no coincidence that Ana has a new stance called Hammer Chance, where she swings a hammer, and her big character gimmick is applying a debuff that allows her to do more chip damage. None of that's a coincidence. Like, one time, sure, it's a coincidence. 2 times it's weird. 3 times it's a pattern. And with also Ikeda showing directly like axe tech doing down 2 and down 2 and how you can sidestep into the foreground now with Lidia, I'm convinced that they are looking at what we say in our stuff when they're changing characters and when they're modifying characters. And I think that Hammer Tech is a smoking gun. Like, they're not even being subtle about it. Why else would they change the amount of damage that 1+2 does in heat? Yeah, like, no, like, that is just not something that makes a lot of sense to directly buff unless there was a reason for it. And the reason for it is that they saw Hammer Tech and they're like, okay, yeah, we like this. And that's why Hammer Tech now is not only been directly buffed, but is a core part of Lydia's game plan and game design. And it helps bring the character together. It gave them an actual vision of the character. It gave them something to design the character around, and all of these changes reflect that. And I'm not trying to like take credit for all of the changes that happened to Lidia, not even close. I'm not trying to do that. But what I'm trying to say is that us as a Lidia community, we're the reasons why Lydia's like this. We're the reasons why she got these buffs and why they're so good and tasteful for the character. And I think that's something that we should all be happy and proud of. And I think it's something that we should thank Bandai Namco for in this sea of negativity, because this is something that they did right. And when you compare it to characters like, again, Steve and Lee, We know how much that Stephen Lee players complain about their characters since the beginning, and I think that the problem with Bandai Namco is that they get so much feedback, differing feedback on all of these things like Lionheart stance, for example, that they look at people complaining about Lionheart stance and being forced to go in the Lionheart stance and how it doesn't do anything, and they interpret that as, okay, so we should have more of like an incentive to go into Lionheart stance. So that's why like Peekaboo 2 goes into Lionheart stance and gives them so many plus frames, and then they look at it and they go, see, look, it's better now, so you should be more happy about it. And then that just makes players mad because there's a disconnect there. And then also with the buffs to like defense, they give Steve another parry in his Lionheart stance and look at that as a buff to defense, when a lot of people look at that and not see that at all. Meanwhile, for us as Lidia players, like, yeah, a lot of people talk about like wanting more mix-ups or the stance cancels or stuff like that, but for the most part, we're happy and we don't want these big dramatic changes to the character like other character player bases have been saying since release. And because we're such a closed, small community of players that just express our gratitude and our happiness for Lidia, I think that they can focus more on a direction to take the character that makes sense instead of just trying to appeal to everyone. And that is why I'm so very happy with the changes to Lidia, because they're sensible, they play into her strengths, they don't directly fix just any of her glaring weaknesses, and instead I muted my microphone. I don't know where it got cut off, so there's going to be a weird cut in here. While I was saying what I was saying, I got cut off. So I don't know where I was. I don't know how much I said. I don't know where I got cut off. But where I wanted to end this, where I wanted to conclude whatever the hell I was saying before I muted my mic, is that Bandai Namco did a good job with Lidia. They did. And in this sea of negativity, in this sea of people hating what they did to the game, what they did to their character, I think it's good for us to say when they do a good job. Because when they do a good job, we get characters and changes like what we see with Lidia. And so it's important to also say when they do good things so you don't get confused and they get it like a mess like Steve or Zafina or someone like that. So to Bandai Namco, to anyone that might be at Bandai Namco watching, if that's the case, and again, I know that someone is because I see you. You weren't subtle about it. I saw what you did. Thank you for like actually making a good update with Lidia and like listening to us and paying attention to us and not just writing off Lidia because she's a character that no one plays and not caring about any of this stuff, but genuinely making a balance change that feels like it actually comes from somewhere that cares about making this character more interesting, more fun to play, and helping us enjoy the character more, have more fun with her and with the game. So to Bandai Namco, I will relentlessly talk shit when you guys do something that's stupid, but in this case, I'm really happy and appreciative of this. So thank you very much for these changes and for not putting a bullet in our character. Really, that's the best part. But anyway, I think that's about everything I wanted to say. This is a 2-hour recording, so I'm gonna end the recording now. To all of you watching, I hope this gave you some good insight and ideas on all of the changes on Lidia. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. If this video is like a month old, then chances are I'm just not going to be able to see anything that you say, because that's just kind of how the comments work nowadays, where it's hard for me to keep up with all of the comments and all of the videos. But I'll try to keep up with the comments on this video and everything you guys are saying for a while. So I can finally end this recording and go eat my food. I put in food before I started this recording, and it's been done for like an hour and a half now. It's probably cold. Yay! Anyway, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Again, I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye! Thank God this is over. Oh my God, 2-hour recording. I'm dying. I'm actually deceased. I'm dead. Holy